layers of fabric together. But some threads can do magic, like make your smartphone work through gloves, make you visible to cars, align your binding just right. Some glow in the dark, and some disappear. So stick with me, and I'll show you how to use them. Hi, I'm Karen Brown of Just Get It Done Quilts. I give you tips, tricks, and strategies to help you make the quilt that you want to make. And if you like what you see, please click that subscribe button. There are regular threads, there are decorative threads, and then there are magic threads. Okay, they're not magic, but they are much more than pretty. And in the right place, they can make a real difference. As the Northern Hemisphere is heading into winter, the longer nights can make outdoor walks more dangerous, as you are less visible in the dark to moving vehicles. Reflective thread is great to add to outdoor wear, Halloween costumes, or pet coats to catch the light and to make you more visible. This is Flash from Wonderfil. Thread it as you normally do. Use your regular thread or a pre-wound bobbin on the bottom. I like to use slightly bigger stitches at 3.0, and I like to use a larger needle, like a 80 or a 90. And I just stitch in the ditch. Here are 3 colors, but it comes in a total of 8, so you can match your clothes or your project. For the best impact, use a double line of stitches. And it's soft enough to use in more decorative stitches, in embroidery, or in your quilting. It is so frustrating trying to use your smartphone in the winter. You have to take off your gloves just to do the simplest of tasks. Even if you have these metallic fabric tips, they often don't work. This conductive thread comes by the bobbin. The thread does like to fray, so keep your pieces short. And I choose a needle with a large eye. I start with a quilter's knot with a long tail. You'll see why in a second. It's pretty impossible to sew with your less dominant hand, so I am putting it on backwards on my left hand. And use a simple cross stitch that completely crosses in the back. It will only work if your fingertips touch the thread on the inside. And I like to make 4 crosses. Then I finish with another knot, and then I bury those tails. This is a 2-ply thread, but there are a 3-ply, a 6-ply, and a yarn version of this thread available as well. Please note that this is not a metallic thread or mylar, and you can tell the difference when you buy, as the description will say conductive and will mention the term thermal resistance. And this thread can do other fun things like connect lights, but that's for another video. Often when we machine bind, we are looking for that elusive, perfect double bind. That is, that top stitch looks just as good on the back of the quilt as it does on the top. Well, this next thread will help you get there. This is called Arn and Fuse by Wonderfil, and Superior Threads has a similar product. I think it's called Charlotte's Fusible Web. First, you use this in your bobbin. Use a zigzag or a blind hem stitch. Attach your binding to the back of your quilt first. Use your 3-in-1 tool to get those crisp, sharp corners, which I showed you how to make in this video. In that video, I also show you 2 different ways to connect your binding strips at the end. Then take a hot iron and fuse the binding to the front, aligning the fold to the seam, just a touch over the stitches. Then press with a hot iron. As I approach the corner, I get that sharp mitered corner in place and hold with a clip, and then I fuse my binding. Then sew your binding at a tight 1/16 of an inch. Too close to the edge and you'll miss the binding underneath. Too far and you'll have a flap that exposes the stitches on the top. I have a whole range of videos on how to bind, and I'll leave a link to that series in the notes below. You can also use it in your quilt as you go projects when you sew two pieces together. Use a blind hem stitch, then fuse the sashing in place, just covering the stitches. Then top stitch. And the stitches look just as good on the back as they do on the front. This thread is also good for tacking in place with a light hold, by hand, or with your sewing machine. A couple of points here. You might want to use a different color of thread on top so you'll know while you're sewing which side is the fusible thread. And since it's a white thread, mark your bobbin. I use a drop of nail polish so you can keep it separate and not mix it up with your other white threads. There are many times that you just need some temporary basting, like when you're making a quilt sandwich. This is called Rinse and Gone by Wonderfil. This time I used the wash away in my bobbin. My stitch length goes to 3.0 up to 4.0, just depending on the project. In this project, I am basting my major blocks, and then I'm quilting inside each with a different colored thread. And once my sandwich has been quilted, I just wet it. Then I grab that top thread and pull it away. These little bits of thread will just dissolve, but if they bother you, use your foam square and take them out yourself. This also works well for basting decorative work like applique, instead of using pins that often snag your thread. And just secure the piece with a line of stitches. When I'm done the fine needlework, I add a little bit of water with a sponge to the Rinse and Gone threads and simply tear away the top thread. This is also great for when you want to match patchwork on the top of the quilt with patchwork on the bottom of the quilt. Just add some tacking stitches to those points that you want to match up. And don't even worry about removing the stitches. The thread will just dissolve with time or with washing. Or how about matching an applique patch from the top with one on the back? When you make your quilt sandwich, just sew an outline around the applique. Then on the back, you'll know exactly where that patch needs to be sewn. Make your applique or decorative stitches as you would normally do. And when you're done, add water to the outline on the back, then remove the thread from the top, and you have a set of mirror images. So just a couple of points here too. This thread is also white, so be sure to mark the bobbin and the spool so that you don't mix it up with other threads. And if you live in a humid climate or your sewing machine is in a humid space like your laundry room, be sure to store it in a plastic bag. Do I need to say don't use it in swimwear or flotation devices?